For Monday, June 23rd, we can have a roll call, Madam Clerk, to establish a quorum.
Harry Meyer,
Here.
David Avanzino,
Here.
Steve Holofield,
Here.
Susan Gruning,
Here.
Terry McClung is absent with notice, Michelle Moyer.
Here.
All right, if we can stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, I have a couple of items, or actually one item on the agenda. Item new business, Breezy Point property. At this point, I'm going to be removing that. There's still some questions that are coming up, so we'll probably be discussing this later on at a later date. Anybody have anything else?
Can I add discussion of the hospital commission?
Okay. What about the hospital commission in particular?
I want to respond to something that was said publicly, and I want to try to set the record straight.
Okay. Anyone else? If not, all those in favor of the agenda as amended?
We need a motion.
Make a motion
I
to
need a
accept the
motion
agenda
to-
as
sorry.
presented.
Yeah. Motion to, okay. Get a second?
Second.
All right. All those in favor of the agenda as amended signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. All right, get a motion to approve the minutes for May 12th.
I make a motion we approve the minutes for the May 12th City Council meeting 2025.
Second.
All right, Ms. Trollerfield made the motion, Ms. Gruning seconded. Any discussion, additions, corrections? No. Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, need a motion for June 9th minutes.
Make a motion we accept the June 9th, 2025 minutes for the City Council meeting minutes.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
All right, Mr. Holyfield made the motion, Mr. Myers seconded. Any further additions, corrections? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? So moved. All right, we do have a vacancy on the CAPC that's still out there. Also have a vacancy on the HDC. And at this time, also we'll be considering Willie Daniels for the hospital vacant position.
Make a motion to discuss.
Okay.
Second.
All right, what y'all?
I called Mr. Daniels, and he called me right back the same day, and we played phone tag one time. I've called him every day since then for the past 2 weeks with no response. So I'm kind of disappointed. I'm not sure if he's lost interest or just doesn't want to talk about it. But I really like to talk to people and vet them and talk to them what's their motivation for volunteering. And I remind people, when we have trouble with some of the commissioners, this is the front line. This is when we really have a time to decide that should they be on this commission or not. And we do this without very much information. And I'm disappointed with Mr. Daniels. I'm not sure what's going on, but I just want to give everybody that feedback.
Would you like to defer it, or you want to just?
Yeah. You think he'll call me
It's up
back
to the
in 3
council.
weeks or 4 weeks?
Until the next meeting,
Okay.
2 weeks. Mr. Meyer?
I had a long conversation with him. Maybe he was out of town when you tried to call him, but
2
I had
weeks.
quite a long conversation with him. And I think he's qualified for the job.
I tried him every day for 2 weeks.
Oh. Interesting.
Yeah.
When did you talk to him last?
When did I talk to him? It was just about a few days after our last meeting. I talked to him. We spent quite a long time on the phone.
And you tried to speak with him after that?
I literally called him every day for 2 weeks and no response.
That's interesting.
I would recommend.
What's the council wishes?
Well, I make a motion that we approve him, but I understand Steve's viewpoint.
All right,
You're making a motion to what?
to
To
approve.
approve.
I would like to defer because I would like the opportunity. I've been out of town for 3, almost 4 weeks to talk to him too.
If you want to defer it, that overrides all the other motions. If you want to make a motion to defer.
I'll make a motion to defer until the next city council meeting.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All right, all in favor, signify, any further discussion on the deferment?
Not me.
All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
No.
Okay. We will defer it 4-1 until the next meeting. At this time, we have public comments. Please limit your time to 3 minutes.
Hello, my name is Richard Webb, and this is my wife, Samantha, both former employees of Ricky Springs Hospital. Everyone appreciates the fact that the council is investigating the money and the finances. That is important. But there are a lot of more human things at play. A lot of good people have been hurt by what has taken place over the last 2.5 years at this hospital. Tonight, we would like to ask the council to request a list of every person that has either quit or been terminated since the current CFO, Cynthia Asbury, was hired back in 2023. Contact these people and listen to their stories of what actually took place and investigate the allegations of wrongful termination, intimidation, retaliation, and bullying by the current CFO, Cynthia Asbury, and current acting CEO, Jody Edmondson, since mid-2023. I know it may seem ridiculous to a lot of people that my wife and I are still coming to these meetings and asking for this to be investigated. But a lot of good people, former and current employees, as well as members of this community, have been hurt and lost everything they worked for and had to suffer mentally and financially over what these people did. All of these people deserve answers. Tonight we speak for ourselves as well as all of them. Also, we would like the council to reach out to Dr. House. Sandy Martin, commission chair, has stated that she was in contact with Dr. House over his proposal to take over the hospital to solve the terrible situation it's in. We ask the council to reach out to Dr. House to determine if this is in fact true or just another untrue statement by Ms. Martin. Remember, the evil that people do lives on. These people need to be held accountable for their actions, just as the good people hurt by them deserve justice because of them. Thank you.
Samantha Webb, former medical records clerk. I'd like to yield my time to Tina Adams, please.
My name is Tina Adams. I am a former employee of ESH, and I would like to say, even though I have not been here for a while, I have not given up fighting for the dismissal of Jody Edmondson and Cynthia Asbury for violence in the workplace and retaliation. As the interim lab manager, April German will also speak about tonight. I believe that the mayor is still not standing up for us victims. And he, in his own way, is bullying and using his powers so the victims can't have a spot on the agenda. I give my remaining time to the next victim, April German.
Hi, I'm next on the list. My name is Aaron Mayfield, and I kind of help my wife, April German, with our company Lab Connections. She recently did some work for the hospital here in Eureka Springs. She had some difficulties in doing that work, and so she's going to come up here and detail some of the interactions, difficulties in those interactions. So I will yield my time to her. Thank you.
By the way, there is no yielding of time. You have 3 minutes to discuss. We don't do continuing yielding to allow somebody 30 minutes to discuss something. So you have 3 minutes.
I'll try to remember that. Thanks.
Is that 3 minutes or is that 6? Because I was yielded.
3 minutes.
Okay, all right. My name is April German. I am the Technical Director of Lab Connections, a medical laboratory consulting firm. We were initially contacted by a representative of Eureka Springs on November 22nd of last year. A serious regulatory censure had been levied by Arkansas Department of Health and Human Services against the hospital, and they were at imminent risk of losing the ability to provide public health services. Lab Connections contracted with the hospital to supply interim laboratory management services. During this time, I collaborated with Health and Human Services to resolve the immediate regulatory violations, working with our industry contacts to staff the lab with certified competent operators, obtained qualified pathologist and lab director services for the lab, and worked with Health and Human Services for an extension and a waiver. These substantial accomplishments did not include day-to-day management duties such as inventory, scheduling, training, interviewing, vendor communication, QC, QA reviews, and oversight of daily operations, as well as callback coverage, which I covered the hospital for over 24 hours on one day. I personally stepped in and performed normal bench work and kept the lab stable for 3 months. Despite all that we accomplished there, today I'm here to address the fact that they have unpaid my invoice for services rendered from the date of the lab in February at the close of termination of our contract. So far, this invoice has been ignored. This reflected significant on-site and off-site work that goes into the whole development of blood bank, quality control, competencies, staffing, training, an entire months of work as well as completing an audit, the first audit of the year. The other matter is that there were false allegations of a data breach and a HIPAA violation made by ESH representatives in the hospital commission on April 1st, 2025 meeting. The city council, this claim is false and unsupported. They stated that I had a data breach and it was made without a formal investigation or documentation of notification. I was contacted after hours on the cell phone by the Pinnacle IT security officer who accused me of a data breach and having a VPN, which we never had, a virtual private network. We never connected with the hospital between our computer and the hospital computers via a virtual private network. That never happened. We did have a virtual machine, and that is in our contract that was signed by the interim CEO at the time of the execution of the contract on November 22nd. We had set that up with Pinnacle IT. We have phone documentation showing that they worked with us to set that up, and with the security officer calling me after hours on her cell phone, the whole interaction was inappropriate, unprofessional, and procedurally flawed. I was not formally notified, violating HIPAA's requirements under Chapter 45 of the Code of
I would like her to finish. I'm sorry. I think there's some important information there.
She has 3 minutes, and that's what was written down in here, and so it's
Then I would
typical
like
for
a copy
everybody
of your
else.
statement, please.
She does have a copy in your packet.
I don't.
There should have been one that the city clerk sent to everybody.
It was emailed.
It's in the what?
It's emailed.
The email, okay. I had already left before the email.
Emailed today.
All right. Is there anyone else? All right, at this time, we'll move on to our unfinished business. Have a sewer update with Simon. And sewer and water leaks remediation.
Okay. All right. Hello, Mayor and Council. So as far as sewer updates go, last council meeting that I was here, I reported that we ordered some valves for the SBRs. Those are probably going to start arriving this week. So you'll start seeing us draw down those SBRs, or SBR, one of them, to replace that motive valve. And then today we got called out up there at Judah, at the top of Judah. We had a sewer issue up there. We cameraed that line, have a bunch of roots in there. We might have to replace a section of it, but we're going to try to cut them out first and see what happens. But aside from that, I really don't have much to report on. Sewer plant's running perfectly fine, so.
All right. Mr. Meyer?
You got the robot running in the sewer lines?
We have a camera.
Well,
Yeah.
I was just wondering if you'd been able to sort anything out with the 4 different sewer lines on Spring Street, which sounded really weird.
No, that's not really been higher on our priority list right now because we got sewer lines that run down there. We know we got 4 of them, but we've had so many other issues with water lines and stuff that we've been dealing with.
So you're going to have to drain SBR all the way to change the valve? Is that right?
No, we just have to draw it below the elevation of the valve itself.
Okay. How low is that?
It'll probably drop down to maybe 10 feet, something like that, from the current level.
Cool. Thanks.
Anyone else? All right, Simon, thank you very much. Did you talk about the water leaks? I'm sorry.
No, not yet.
Okay.
So right now at the Passion Play Water Tower, I'm gonna say it's Carroll Boone Water District has a communication issue with the level at the Passion Play Tower right now. So we've been manually filling that tower. If anybody in the city notices low water pressure on the east side of town, let us know. I don't think we're going to have any of those issues, but we're hoping by Wednesday Carroll Boone has that fixed. And since the last council meeting, we're fixing a leak over at 314 Spring Street. There's a small leak over there. We're going to try to start tackling that tomorrow. And we replaced the meter today at 15 Eureka, and we replaced the service at 12 North Main. So aside from that, that's all I have to report on.
All right, any questions? Good. All right, Simon, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. All right, that brings us up to our next item. It's new business, is a resolution mandating certain hospital reports. Get a motion to discuss.
Motion to discuss.
Second.
All right, this came from our last business with the City Council. And for you, you do have a copy of the resolution setting forth the reporting requirements for the Hospital Commission. So if y'all interested, we can sign it. Somebody make a motion to sign a number and read it, or you can, if the council wants to
Make
do
a
it.
motion to assign this resolution a number and read it for passage.
Second.
Is that Mr. Alvanzino? Okay. Mr. Myers made the motion to sign this number and read for passage, and Mr. Alvanzino seconded. Any further discussion? All right, roll call.
David Avanzino,
Yes.
Steve Holofield,
Yes.
Harry Meyer,
Yes.
Rochelle Moyer,
Yes.
Susan Gruning.
Yes.
Assigning resolution number 884, City of Eureka Springs, Carroll County, Arkansas, a resolution setting forth the reporting requirements of the Eureka Springs Hospital Commission. Whereas the City of Eureka Springs has recently adopted ordinance number 2370, which sets forth the rules and responsibilities of the City Eureka Springs Hospital Commission pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated 16-264, 101, etc. And whereas the state law requires that certain reporting to be provided the City Council by the Hospital Commission, and that the City Council might request additional reporting and the frequency of such reports, and that the types and frequency of such reports can be set by the mayor or the City Council by resolution. And whereas the City Council believes that is in the best interest of the city and its citizens to set for the reports and frequency of such reports by resolution. Now, therefore, be it resolved by the City Council of the City of Eureka Springs, Arkansas, Section 1, the City Council resolves that a report on the construction and operation of the hospital, including an accounting of receipts and disbursements as set forth in Arkansas Code annotated 14-264-105B1, shall be certified by the hospital commissioners as correct per Arkansas Code annotated 14-264-105B2, and submitted to the mayor and city council on at least a quarterly basis. Pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated 14-264-105B1, the city council is entitled to receive such other and further reports, data, and information as may be requested. According, the city council resolves that the Eureka Springs Hospital Commission shall provide to the city council the regular profit and loss statements, balance sheets, and cash flow statements of the hospital. Such profit and loss statements, balance sheets, and cash flow statements shall be provided on a monthly basis to the mayor and city council as these reports are prepared and made available. Section 3, the city council resolves that the Eureka Springs Hospital Commission shall submit an annual audit of the hospital financial operations to the mayor and city council pursuant to Arkansas Code annotated 14-264-105B3.
Okay, thank you all. Next item of business is get a motion to discuss a resolution for community assistant grants for the hospital transport van.
Motion to discuss.
Second.
We have an opportunity to apply for a grant up to $225,000 to allow the hospital to buy a transport van. We have been running into not necessarily conflicts, but we have 3 ambulances. Actually, we have 4, but we have 3 people, 3 EMTs that can drive those, and I guess we can bring in some other people. But there's times when there's an emergency transport, and with the emergency hospital status, we have to transport people now from our hospital to Fayetteville or to another hospital. And that creates a problem with our ambulance service, because there's times when we can't transport them because they're out on duties, or there's a problem that comes up where it's not really an emergency, but they're afraid to go out because it may be bike bars, bike blues, and barbecue, and a lot of people, and so they're wanting to do this. This would allow the hospital to have their own transport van and to be able to hire their own drivers. It's not an ambulance, it's just a transport, and that's really all they need. They don't need an ambulance. If they need an ambulance, they can call our ambulance service and they can take care of it in that respect if it's an emergency, or they'll use a medevac and air vac on there. So this is an opportunity just to apply, and that's all this resolution is. It's just authorizing us to apply for that grant of $225,000, of which they're putting up $45,000 as their fee. So anybody got any questions on that?
I have one, Mayor. So a transport van, what type of patients would they be transporting?
People who don't need an ambulance.
Because the reason I ask is that I believe it's against the law to transport someone, say, that's hooked up to an IV in a passenger van.
Well, if they're on an IV, they'll be going by an ambulance.
Okay, I just want to make sure that was.
But this won't be. This will be just a transport that somebody's needing to be transported from our hospital, because we can only keep people in our hospital, for up to so many hours, and then they got
24, I think it is.
Yeah, I was going to say, on there. Okay. But otherwise, if it's an emergency or if it's something with blood, transfusions where it needs an ambulance, then we would do it. They're not trying to supplement this because this will not have any of the ambulance qualifications. I mean, they don't have any of the air and anything like that. So this is strictly transport. Otherwise, the only thing we can use is an ambulance, which ties up an ambulance. So, yes, Ms.
So I'm curious, what happens currently? Because we don't have this.
We
type of
have to call the
transport.
ambulance, and they have to, if they have the time, come and transport somebody.
And has there been a time where?
Yes,
this
there
has
has
not
been
happened?
times, and they've got to call anybody who comes in there that gets transported, even if it's not an emergency, they have to be transported out.
It's the hospital's responsibility?
Beg your pardon?
That's the hospital's responsibility to do that? To find transportation for a non-emergency?
Yes, and the city, the hospital, basically. So, and the ambulance service had been working with that, the EMTs, with that for the last year. And it's creating some issues into there. Mr. Meyer?
From what I gather from the fire chief, any patient from our hospital that has to be transported to another hospital is not transported by our ambulances. They won't do it. They call an independent ambulance service to come and transport them.
They have been doing it.
They changed their policy because it was
They
they
haven't
wanted to
changed their
keep.
policy. They've been doing it, Mr. Meyer. The problem is they can't do it as often as they need to be.
I see the ambulances. See, I'm visiting Forrest, who lives right across the street there, and I see the independent ambulance service from Berryville come over and pick up people that carry them elsewhere. And the fire chief told us when he came to talk to us one time that no, we want to keep our ambulances here to pick up patients.
Well, he's been telling me that they do this when they can.
So
it's not every time. I'm not saying that you're wrong. I'm just saying that they're not doing it they're doing it.
I didn't know they
enough
did it at
times.
all. But
They are. And that's creating the problem. Yes, ma'am.
So if this gets approved and it's a mobile clinic van, is there additional expense to fit this van so that it's a clinic van per se? I mean, is it a stretcher going in it? Like what is?
They have, I haven't seen the specifications on it, but I think there's more to it than just a regular van, yes.
So does it come retrofitted or will there be additional expense to have to?
No,
do that?
the maximum expense is $225,000. It's for hospital transportation.
we'd have to hire someone to drive it.
The hospital would have to hire somebody, yeah.
I kind of.
But they wouldn't have to be an EMT.
Right.
So this is for us to have in the event that an ambulance can't get here, but for non-ambulance reasons.
Or they don't need an ambulance.
Like what kind of situation would you not need an ambulance?
There's a trend on ALS and BLS I could speak to.
Sure.
There has been, in the last several years, especially as the ambulance service gets more and more expensive, that is, to pay the paramedic, if you have one, if you want an ALS ambulance, one that can like save people and get in the hospital, has to have a paramedic, and that's called ALS. And there's BLS, which usually has an EMT, maybe in a driver, and they can render first aid and get someone to the hospital, but it's not so much a mobile emergency room. And what they're finding is services that really want to offer ALS service, large cities and the regional ambulance services, they are finding that they can't have their ALS ambulance tied up with transportation, which happens all the time, where it could be to Fayetteville or it could be to Oklahoma City, depending on what that patient needs. And there is, those often are reimbursed through Medicaid and Medicare a lot of times. So you want to offer that service if you can. And so this trend of, and you'll start to see them in other cities where you use that big box ambulance you're going to start seeing Sprinter vans and smaller vans.
Okay.
And those are BLS and other transportation sort of solutions that they're really starting that trend is starting to grow, because you really want to be able to do that transportation, but you don't want to tie up that ALS or BLS ambulance.
It's a grant, but you can be reimbursed for the services against the grant?
I don't know about the grant being reimbursed, but it allows the facility to provide that service, that transportation service, to Fayetteville or Little Rock or Springfield, and get reimbursed for that. So they're able to cover that service, and that's good for them.
Right. I just want to be sure that if you purchase something under a grant, that you can collect revenue from it.
I think that's the idea. And I shouldn't say that I know in this case. I just that trend is really taking hold, and we're seeing it a lot.
I would assume the hospital would know that.
And this wouldn't be a reimbursable grant. We don't have to pay it back.
I get the idea of the grant, but the service of using
absolutely.
Uh,
he said could be reimbursable by Medicaid, which would be revenue producing.
Exactly.
I think so. And I think you were spot on, too. It's not just a van. As the mayor said, it is dressed up inside so that it can provide services like IV or oxygen on the way down. It's just not a mobile emergency.
I mean, I think it's a great idea, and I like the idea. If you can get it with a grant, better yet.
Mr. Holyfield?
During the hospital commission meeting, when they discussed this, they also said a dual purpose of some community outreach as well, for using the van for community outreach. It's not just going to be for transport, but that's the main purpose. But there's going to be other purposes for it as well.
Will the grant allow for that?
Sure.
That mobile clinic.
Yeah.
Okay.
Idea.
There's no limitations on the grant. The grant's for purchase of the vehicle. We'll be bringing another grant before you for probably something with water and sewer, possibly the same type of grant. This grant with the community assistant grant program doesn't limit us to just putting in one grant or just one particular. This is an option for us and for the hospital, because we've been trying to figure out with the ambulance how to handle this problem. And it seemed to be a good solution. Ms. Moyer?
So I'm sympathetic, and I appreciate your explanation of the sort of tiers of transport, and it makes sense to me put that way. I guess my concern is how many patients are we talking about needing this service in a given year? Because if it's like
Every
5
patient,
or 6?
every patient that needs to be transported, if they're not released, they'll need to be transported.
So I'm curious how. I guess my concern, not that I don't need to be in the business of crunching those numbers and determining if it's a smart idea to invest. I support, looking for a grant to help pay for it. My concern would be that you go through the effort of securing a grant, and that's the basic van, and then it requires another $100,000 or $200,000 to outfit it in a way that's usable for community outreach or whatever, and you're staffing it, and there's additional costs there. We're already sort of looking at the financial situation with the hospital currently. So I just want to voice my concern that how does this fit into an overall plan for the hospital, and do we have the patient need to support an expense like that, or would it actually become a source of revenue? I have a lot of questions about that. So I just wanted to kind of.
I think what we should do is probably go ahead and apply for the grant, and if we get the grant, you can decide at that time if you want to accept it. But I can guarantee you that we were already running into issues between conflicts with our ambulance and transportation.
No.
So there's a need for it, and anybody who has, I'm assuming, from heart attacks, strokes, probably even broken legs, will have to be transported. They can be set and temporized with the emergency procedures, but then they get transferred. We're an emergency hospital. We're not a full-fledged hospital anymore. So we got to move the people out, as Mr. Meyer said, within 24 hours.
It's the 24-hour thing, I think, that has made this happen, because it used to be they could keep a patient for a while until there was transport, but there's only 24 hours. I just wonder about, is that person that's getting transported, are they released from our hospital then?
Are they what?
Have they been released before they get on the in the van?
No, if they're getting on the van, they're not released. They're just being transferred.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah, I mean, otherwise you'd be released and you'd go home.
Okay.
Yep. Ms. Moyer?
Just one more quick question. And so there are no other services available in the community to transport these patients?
Another ambulance.
That's it? It's
That's
either
it.
ambulance or they're on their own?
That's it.
They find someone to transport them, a friend?
Friends won't work.
Yeah, I can speak to this on a personal level. 3 instances where a family member has had to, they didn't have the chance to go to the hospital. They went straight, Eureka Springs said send them to, one was in Missouri and the other one was in Rogers. And what was your last question about IVs? You had one more thing right there.
I was just wondering if there was another service available to transport these
Yeah,
folks.
so from what I understand with the law in Arkansas, if a person has just an IV, it's just regular fluids, then that person has to be transported by either an ambulance or someone that is certified as an EMT. Is that correct, Mr. Lawyer?
Exactly, yeah.
Okay.
If they've got an IV, there definitely has to be a
Yeah. So with this van, with this transport van,
first responder.
I don't know if they would have just a driver or someone who is an EMT.
It probably depends on the situation.
I mean, it's free
Because
money.
we have
right?
more EMTs than we do ambulances.
Yeah.
Most of our firemen are EMTs.
So what you're asking for, the resolution, is just the authorization for you to apply for it.
To apply for it.
To apply for the grant. Yeah.
I make a motion.
We haven't been awarded the grant yet
Yeah.
at all. I do know, I've don't remember exactly. You were asking what it's outfitted with. Somebody. It is outfitted with the stretcher, and I don't know what other equipment it
Yeah,
is.
okay.
I hadn't seen the specs on it, but I know they were looking at it. There's companies that are especially for this situation on there. Because they are becoming, more popular among cities, especially with the small emergency hospital.
And I motion to move that we approve this request for the grant.
Assign the number and read for passage.
I move to assign the resolution and number, read it for passage.
Okay.
Second.
What?
You need to add the title first.
Okay. We need to, we need to approve resolution to apply to the Arkansas Community Assistant Grant Program. And sign a number and read for passage. So, all right, any further discussion? Okay, roll call.
I guess I didn't understand that title.
Arkansas Community Assistance Grant Program.
So I have a blank that I have to fill out. State of Arkansas, a resolution entitled,
Arkansas Community Assistant Grant Program. What was the number?
I haven't read it yet. So who made the motion in the second?
Ms. Green made the motion, and I'm not sure who's.
Steve.
Did you second or make the motion?
She started it, but I put it in the right.
Oh, you finished it, yeah, okay.
She
You
started
started
it
it,
in the
and
right
who made the second?
She's helping me out.
Yeah.
All right, who made the second?
I second it,
Okay.
since I couldn't first it.
I've got it written down here.
You've been out of practice.
jet lag. I'll blame it on jet lag.
Harry Meyer,
Yes.
David Avanzino,
Yes.
Rochelle Moyer,
Yes.
Steve Holofield,
Yes.
Susan Gruding.
Yes.
Signing resolution number 885, State of Arkansas Community Assistance Grant Program, a resolution authorizing the mayor, judge, president of the city of Eureka Springs to apply for a grant on behalf of the city of Eureka Springs, whereas the city of Eureka Springs City Council has determined the city of Eureka Springs meets eligibility requirements necessary to apply for a grant under the Arkansas Community Assistance Grant Program. And whereas the city of Eureka Springs has presented plans to non-emergency transport mobile clinic van, and whereas the city council of the city of Eureka Springs recognizes the need for the project and concurs with its importance and supports the city-owned Eureka Springs Hospital and its efforts to proceed with the same, and whereas the city of Eureka Springs has furnished proof that they have raised $45,000 through community cash and/or in-kind donations to be applied to the project as a local match. Be it further resolved that the mayor of the city of Eureka Springs hereby authorized to submit an application of formal request to the Arkansas Economic Development Commission for purpose of securing state grant funds in the amount of $225,000 to aid and assist the city of Eureka Springs in executing the proposed project described herein, and that the mayor of the city of Eureka Springs is further authorized to administer the grant funds for the same project.
All right. Thank you all. All right, that brings us up to our next item of business. Ms. Moyer asked for a hospital commission.
Can you pass this? Wait, sorry, reach across you. In listening to the last hospital commission meeting, it occurred to me that there may be a misunderstanding, and I wanted to take this opportunity to set that straight, at least from my perspective. I want to take this opportunity to recognize the hospital operational staff, the chief of staff, the doctors, the nurses, the technical staff. I think you've got highly trained individuals in place. Even if they are contract employees, they are highly professional, and I wanted to take this opportunity to thank them for their service and their professionalism. To clarify, my concern, at least, is with not the operational staff, but specifically with the commission's lack of financial stewardship and the hospital administration's leadership. The commission and the administration's spending, their failure to address community concerns and loss of community support, and public presentation of overly simplified and misleading information, in my opinion, is extremely embarrassing and negligent. I provided a handout for you guys. The first page shows the data regarding patient visitation that was presented at the last commission meeting. This is not something that I've created. I got access to this and I'm sharing it with you. It was presented as definitive evidence that there's no issue with the community's support for the hospital. This is not complete, nor is it detailed enough to even draw a confident conclusion like that. I maintain that the trend analysis, which I shared in the last meeting, is much more, give us a better idea about what is actually happening with the community's support of the hospital. The hospital may be managed by the commission, but the hospital is a city asset. From July 2024 to May 2025, the hospital bank balance has dropped by $2.5 million. So if you look at the second page on the handout, that's marked as A. $2.5 million. Now the P&L shows a loss of $465,000 for the same time period. That's marked B on your handout. With nearly a year of data, we would expect that these two amounts to start to approach each other. Instead, we have a difference here of over $2 million. This is alarming. And my question is, where's the money? How was the money spent? The fact that we have yet to receive a balance sheet, which is the very piece of data that would help us to understand where that money was spent, is highly concerning that we have not been able to access that information. And my question is why? Why has that not been provided? You have a CFO on staff, on salary, who should be able to develop a balance sheet, and that could be shared. My question is it shared with the commission? Does the commission have questions about where that money is? Do you have questions about where that money is? Does anybody else have questions about where $2 million is?
Absolutely.
I do.
Not only questions, but we have been dealing with the budget for quite a while now and have had workshops and still no answer. So where do we go with that? I know everyone's getting frustrated with this whole thing, but the facts are here. The numbers are here. You can't dispute that.
And this is data that's been provided by them.
Somebody's missing it. I mean, somebody should be able to see this.
When Steve and I were in the workshop between commission and council, I remember somebody saying that a huge chunk of money had to be put into another account for something. They couldn't account for it. Do you remember that?
It was the COVID money.
No, it was a purchase of some pieces of equipment, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, I think we were told that with the 500,000, but we never saw it in the report, and now we're up to 2 million. So there's still, that's just a lot of money for a small hospital to not be able to explain or show a balance sheet or where it is. It shouldn't be that hard. Not with a full-time paid CFO, and a CEO should be questioning it as well, let alone the commission.
Rochelle, what is the first slide? What does this show? What is this?
So the first page of the handout is actually the data that was presented at the last commission meeting by, I believe it was the CFO. And their conclusion was that visitation is local, primarily local. And they're looking at it because I guess it's mostly Arkansas. But I mean, I run a business in town. It's a lodging business. Many of my people come from Arkansas. But this does not prove anything.
I don't know what it's.
It's a very elementary level presentation that doesn't really tell us much. And, you know, I mean, I don't want to be in the position of calling out the CFO. This is just not actual data. And it's being presented as data with which they're making decisions and assumptions on. And I think it's important to point out to the public that that's.
I think the last time you'd made a comment that most of the business is coming from visitors as opposed to local. I think that's what this was also in reference to.
I listened to the
If I'm not
commission
mistaken,
meeting,
I may be wrong.
Yeah, I listened to the commission meeting multiple times, over and over. So I just wanted to take this opportunity to put it to the public for consideration so that there's at least another perspective out there. And that's my opinion. Under the current administration, Ms. Martin's leadership, specifically, 86% of the $2.5 million has been spent. It seems to me as though the argument is that the money is required to be spent to get them out of some situation. And my concern is it's $2.5 million and our patient revenue is lower than ever. Our patient visitation is lower than ever. You look at the trend analysis that I did last week, right? There's an obvious cycle here, and we should be in our peak season, and we're not. We're lower than we have been in the 5 years of data available. I think that's concerning. And to hear the commission continue to just gloss over like everything's great, everything's wonderful, we're doing great. I think there's a problem here. I'm very concerned about it. I'm also shocked to hear that they agreed to a $250,000 CEO salary and a $250,000 purchase of a van, which I mean, I don't have a problem.
Now, the $250,000 purchase of the van is a grant.
I understand that.
Okay, let's don't
And I
confuse,
hope
let's don't confuse the two issues.
I understand, and I hope that that's where it goes, but I have no assurances, just hearing what the commission said and answering questions here, that there's not another $225,000 needed to outfit a van. Do we have a long-term plan in place for services and how it's going to be used? I don't want to get stuck on the van. My point is, can I finish?
Yes, ma'am.
My point is that we have $2.5 million that has been spent. We've just heard the commission agree to another $500,000 to spend. And we also, last known, had liabilities at $4 million. So we have a bank balance of $5.5 million. We have last known liabilities of $4 million. We don't have anything to the contrary to say that at this point. We just agreed to at least $250,000 in a CEO salary. And that leaves us, technically speaking, with $1.5 million left in the bank to spend. That is nowhere near what's being presented by the commission. And that's my concern.
Ms. Gridney?
So this is directed to the council. Rochelle gave us some pretty compelling evidence here, and we have been dealing with this, and and you've said you want the public to know, and the public will know because it's recorded. But what are we as council members, what do we want to do with this? I think we kind of tap dance around what I think maybe we know needs to be done.
I would say at a bare minimum that I would implore the mayor to do a review and reconciliation of the hospital's finances. So we know exactly where we stand, because if the hospital commission spends more money than they have, even inadvertently, where are they going to come to get money to keep the hospital open?
And didn't we request an independent audit of the hospital at one point?
Yes.
What happened with that?
I believe our workshop was even delayed. Our joint workshop was delayed because this was going to happen, this review is going to happen.
Yeah,
I've not heard anything else on that.
We've had an audit. We have an audit every year.
By who and when?
A review and a reconciliation.
By B&H auditors, one of the nationally known auditing firms in the country.
And they've not seen anything?
You know, y'all, we're talking among ourselves. You're throwing out a lot of information, a lot of data, and I can't answer those because I'm not on the hospital commission. And I don't know the ins and outs of the finances. And you spend a lot of time on this, and I appreciate that. You have some concerns, and the council does. A lot of this, I can't answer that.
I don't think we're expecting
Now,
you
you
to
asked
answer,
me
Mayor.
if they was audited, and yes, they are audited.
I was asking that we requested it, and was there one?
And there was one.
I don't think we expect you to answer what goes on.
There's an
at the
audit
hospital.
done, and the council received that in January, I think. I'm not sure when, but we received the last audit.
I don't remember
My
ever
question
seeing it.
is on that last audit, were there no red flags?
There was no findings in the audit that was, irregular
That's another
on there.
concern.
And I can re-get the audit back to the council.
Can we get a copy of that audit just again?
I have two comments to that. One is that there was $4 million worth of unaccounted for money spent that was then recorded as a liability in case the government was to recall that money. That's my understanding. That was found at some point, and that's how it was posted in the accounts. Second is, I think there's a difference between an annual audit and a review and reconciliation of the budget. And I'm asking for a review and a reconciliation. Just so that we can have all kinds of ideas about what happens to $2 million. $2 million is a lot of money, but until we have evidence in front of us, those things are going to swirl around. I mean, for example, somebody called me last week and said, do you think somebody stole the money? No, I don't. I'm not suggesting that someone took $2 million, but to be honest with you, no one knows because we don't have the information that we should have available to us to know.
So, may I ask
Yes, Mr.
legal
Whitfield.
question here, sir?
Please.
So our resolution that we just voted on tonight,
Right.
as part of that resolution, can we say we like a explanation of the finances as they stand right now, including an audit or not including an audit? Is that something under that resolution?
We don't need to add it to the rest.
So you're demanding on a monthly basis the P&L, balance sheets, cash flow statements. So I think the cash flow statement may be really important, it sounds like. And also you're demanding an annual audit of the hospital financial operations to be given to you and the mayor. So before it wasn't very specific, it just said financial documents. You're being very specific now about, and I don't know if from those, I would like to think that from the P&L and the balance sheet, you'd be able to reach that. But I understood there would be no math, and so I don't think I would be qualified. I wouldn't be qualified to do the reconciliation.
Yeah. So
But you could hire someone if you wanted to give that data to once you feel like you had the data that you needed and say, here are these reports.
Can we
So
ask
procedurally-
the hospital commission to do that?
can we?
To hire someone to do a reconciliation? And
I think you can ask. I think you can. I think you're allowed to ask them for reporting. If it's not well, say we want this the kind of report we want. We want a reconciliation. So you guys do whatever you could do to make it happen.
Does the office of the mayor have the power to use professional services money to get a review and a reconciliation of the commission's finances?
Yes, that power exists. You guys would want to make sure it's funded. So the mayor would never do that without making sure it was in the budget one way or another. So you may do a budget adjustment to get that done, or there may be money in the budget to do that right now. But certainly the mayor can hire those services and get whatever work you all want done. The mayor just wouldn't spend the money unless you had it in the budget.
so we'd have to find out how much it's going to cost, then come before the council and see if the council wants to spend whatever money it is, it costs to do that.
You do an SOQ and get some qualified responses and then make a selection.
Once we get the data, then we can make that movement.
I think it's important to know where we are on that.
Yeah.
And you're being crystal clear now about exactly what you want on a monthly basis and an annual basis now.
So Rochelle, if I may, you made a statement that I've been thinking for several weeks. And as within any business or government, when money comes up missing, one of the first things that goes to your mind is, well, who took it? Or what did they do with it? And that's what I've been thinking for several months now. And I didn't want to say it. Thank you for having the guts to say it in an open meeting. And I just get the feeling that we are consistently and constantly having the wool pulled over our eyes when it comes to financials for the hospital. Really, when it comes to anything with the hospital, I feel that we're not getting the answers that are true. So yeah, I'm going to have to agree with you that, and it's going to come down to us, since we have very limited powers with this commission, going back to removing a commissioner. And I know that's something that you don't want to do, Mayor, but unless they start giving us the information we ask for, that's literally, and I think legally, the only option that we have.
Well, if you think about that and do that, and I know you're going to come up with the justification, rationals out, but you have to have good reasons and good cause for that. And then carry that one step farther. We have enough problems. Eventually, we won't have a commission. And at that point, I'm not sure what will happen.
I would like to comment to that.
Okay.
I think it's human nature to question other people's motives. And I think this is why it's so important in government to have transparency, because that's exactly, like, we are American. That's exactly, we're very concerned with power and who has it. For a government to run properly, there needs to be transparency. And it is the lack of transparency from the commission that is creating this entire issue, in my opinion. So people come to us constantly asking us to do something. We're then told there's nothing that we can do. At the end of the day, this is what we can do, I think, is we can ask for someone who knows what they're doing, which is not me. I mean, I know enough to get us in trouble on the financial side. We need a professional individual to look and do a review and a reconciliation and be very clear about where we are on the finances for the hospital. Because I don't want to risk losing such a wonderful asset and an economic driver for our community because we have egos involved. The other thing that I would say is, on top of a lack of transparency, there is absolute misrepresentation on the part of the leadership of the commission about what is actually happening. And I don't know if it's because they don't know or if it's because they're hiding something. I don't know what those reasons are. But as long as the commission continues in the path that they've taken, it makes it look bad. So there may be no malice at all. And I am an eternal optimist, and I hope that there is no malice and there's nothing to find here. But we need to know.
Further comments? Mr. Meyer?
The hospital had a pathology lab, a pathologist and medical director, the company, for 30 years. They quit last November, and that's why April German came in. There was no pathologist, there was no medical director. The hospital was going to go down the tubes. We heard nothing about that. It was her efforts that got it going again. She had to beg a pathologist to take on because the word got out that this is just a S show at our hospital, that it's people that don't know what they're doing and they're mean and they fire people. 13 employees signed a letter to the commission complaining about Cynthia Asbury and delineating all the problems that they had with her. There's only one left working there. The 12th one was let go a couple of weeks ago, and the hospital commission chair said, oh, that was just a contract person, just to put us off, just to tell us that you don't need to know these things, just for a quick answer. And then the secretary of the commission butts in and starts to tell me that, well, you know, they were offered a different job. And, well, they gave her job to someone else. She had the job for 3 years. She was doing a good job. And word gets out from the hospital. We now know that the job she was doing is not getting done right. We know that. You might call it innuendo or rumor, but I guarantee it's pretty close to the truth. So, yes, we have some problems, and I just hope we got a new CEO starting in August. Will that cure the problems? Well, unless we run out of money, maybe it will. But that's the reason why we've been motivated to scrutinize the commission, not because we don't like those people. It's just because they're not doing their job.
Ms. Gurney?
So that's a nice segue with the commission knowing. So after we do an audit and we can confirm that there's missing $2 million missing, what authority do we have to work with the commissioners at that point. If we say we would like to eliminate a commissioner because of poor representation on a budget, misrepresentation, is that a legal reason?
Removing a commissioner for cause is what the mayor mentioned, what we've
Would
been
that
talking
be
about. Financial, what you're asking for is financial data. If you found from the hard data that they gave you that there is simply an intolerable financial trend occurring, then you could exercise that power to remove a commissioner.
Don't you think what Rochelle just presented?
Okay, to be clear, I have no idea because I don't know anything about the data right now.
Okay, so that's what I'm asking legally.
I'm guessing she's getting something that they gave her and doing an analysis. I think what Rochelle is saying is, let's get a third party to look at this. That
So
way
that's
there's
what I'm
no
saying. If
innuendo.
the third party agrees with her findings, does that
think-
show?
You would want a third party to give you findings and then make your decision at that point.
Okay.
And again, to be clear, if you found that third party advised you, you have a trend that's
Right,
going in
yeah,
this direction,
yeah.
and you could say that's not tolerable.
Sure.
You could exercise, and I think that's cause.
So how
That's the kind of
soon
clause.
can we get a third party?
Yeah. But you're going about it the right way by, you passed a resolution tonight saying we're very specific about what we need. Let's be really clear. Now the mayor can communicate in a very specific way and get reports that, he'll transmit this resolution to the board and then get the reports that y'all need. And I don't know if you'll need 1 month, 2 months, 3 months, quarter, I don't know. But you'll be able to at least track what's happening, in a way that everyone that has integrity, right? So no one can assail it from any direction. I think that's how I took what you were saying.
Yeah. And the next piece obviously would be to get that professional service provided, the review and the reconciliation of the financials. Once we get, we could do that now. I guess a question for me would be, I think that's such an important piece is getting that done, right, to your point. And of the documents that we have income statements, we have P&Ls, but we don't have balance sheets. We've never received a balance sheet. I've not been able to find anyone who's ever seen a balance sheet. So that would be an important piece for a professional to have in order to determine what in the world is going on.
That's basic accounting principles, right?
Yeah. How do we need to specifically as a body ask for that information to be provided so that an analysis...
You're already asking for a balance sheet.
For the month available. But is that retroactive to...
That's what they're going to provide is a balance sheet, profit and loss.
Year to date?
It says monthly. The mayor's absolutely entitled, and y'all are entitled to ask for if you want last year's or the year before's. You certainly can ask for that.
So we would want, Mayor, we would want more than just the most recent. We would want.
Well, the most
20
recent, you can't, I need directions, I guess. Going back 2 years.
2024,
Going back 2 years is too far, I think. I don't know what
get a balance sheet?
For a hospital?
For profit and loss, and your profit and loss is your current profit and loss where we are. And a lot of your stuff, and again, I don't know what I don't know. I'm not a bookkeeper. I don't know. I don't know what's easy and
I'm not a
what's not.
bookkeeper either. I'm not an accountant, but I know that the last 2 years of financial data is not too much to ask. So that's what we need. We need 24, 25 financial data to be provided to us and you so that we can get a review and a reconciliation of the finances from a third party, preferably not one chosen by the commission. That only looks better for them.
Okay, you lost me. You want 24 and 25 financial data, not from a third party?
No, we want 2024, 2025 financial data provided by the commission and the administration as those things that are in the resolution Separately, I think, we want a review and a reconciliation by a professional accountant not affiliated with the commission or the hospital. Then to your point, it's third party, it's once removed. Whatever they come up with is whatever they come up with. It's their professional analysis. It's not us, it's not the commission, it's not you.
I believe the commission should pay for that third party, since they're the ones that got us into this mess to begin with.
I just want it done, and I don't want any more deference on this. I want it done. I think it's, it's like we run into months and months, like this started in April.
Yeah.
So whatever is the most expeditious way would be my preference, but obviously.
Rochelle, can you put what you want in a motion so that we can vote on it and get it done?
I am so
You
bad
probably want
procedurally.
two different motions.
I motion that we demand financials as labeled in the resolution for the years 2024 and 25 to be provided immediately.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
And then, Rochelle, you should have a second motion, correct?
So would the motion be I motion to order a review and a reconciliation of that financial data to be done as soon as possible.
By a third party.
By third party?
A third-party professional.
A third-party professional, yes, thank you.
Second.
All right, any further discussion? All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, so moved. Okay.
Good. Maybe we'll get some movement.
Anything else?
Do we have to put a time parameter around this so it doesn't take 6 months or?
She said as soon as possible, but, you know,
That can be ambiguous.
yeah, I'll get it as soon as possible. So, okay. All right, if there's nothing else, that concludes this, and we'll start off with, anybody have anything for the agenda for next time? Yes, sir.
I would like a report from the fire chief on EMTs and our ambulance services. And we haven't talked to him in a long time.
Okay. Anybody else? All right, council comments. Ms. Gruning, I know you had a lovely vacation over there. Do you have
I
any
did.
comments that besides your wonderful time?
Yeah, we had a great time. We saw a lot. It was hot over there. I heard it was raining here the whole time, but it was like 95, 97. Once we left London and we got into Europe, Paris, Venice, Amalfi, Rome, it was 95, 97 degrees. We were like, ugh. It was hot. Great trip. Glad to be back. I'm back into the swing of things.
Good, well, glad you're back. Mr. Holyfield?
CAPC meeting, regular meeting this month, this coming Wednesday, 6 p.m. here in the Odd. I gave everybody a copy of the marketing boot camp, which is on Thursday morning at 8:30 a.m. And you scan on the bottom for free registration. Looks like it's going to be a really good turnout, talking to local people about marketing. And the cemetery tour continues this Saturday at 11 o'clock, $20 a ticket. Everybody who wants to hear some history about the historic cemetery, just show up and pay $20 and get a 1-hour walking tour of the cemetery. That's it.
Mr. Avanzino?
Jealous of Suzanne's trip abroad. Anyway.
Me too.
We won't go there. I do want to thank the council for, after tonight, I feel like we're finally moving and pushing forward, and it feels like we're getting something done with the two motions, Rochelle, that you made. So yeah, I just want to say thanks. I feel like we're finally moving forward in something that we can do.
Ms. Moyer.
I appreciate everyone at this table. It's a difficult position for everyone, and I think we all have the best interest of our community at heart. I would hope that, and I appreciate each of you guys. Thank you.
Mr. Myers.
It is an emotional subject. It's a difficult one because these are friends and neighbors that are on the commission and friends and neighbors that have worked for the hospital. So it's a trying sort of issue. But on a lighter note, and I'll bet Butch remembers this fellow. Do you remember John Weaver? Had a gallery next to the library. He drove this big yellow Hummer. Well, he's got a farm up there in a bend in the Kings River, and he's got 2 steamboats, a steam engine, a half a dozen old Fords. He's quite a character and a half. I got to know him because of a friend up in Illinois who knew him for some reason, or I think he repaired his banjo or something like that. No, old John is quite a character. That's all.
All right, a couple of things. One goes along with the hospital. There was comments and public comments about people wanting the city council to take action against the bullying and against wrongful termination and all that. And I'm sure the council is aware of as much as I am too. There's nothing that we can do about that. The correct action of that is in the courts. If they have a problem and think they've been wrongly terminated, or there was bullying, or there's legal problems, they can always take their actions, and they should take it to court to get it resolved. And the same thing with other things that are going on into there, which we got on our agenda. Those are legal actions. They're not items to be taken up before the city council. Because if we do take those items up, we tend to possibly get ourselves into trouble in the future as being part of the litigation and or possible suits as individuals, which would take us out of our tort immunity. So those are all legal actions that belong within the hospital or within the people who believe they've been wrongly terminated or have some sort of an action against the hospital. And I know there's lawyers out there, and we all do, who will be glad to take up their case and sue the city. They love it, or the hospital, as the case may be. But we have to be careful with that. But that's the place for those actions. It's not with the city council or the public meetings like this. As much as I regret them going through whatever they had to go through, this is still not the place for it. And I know they feel like as one of them said, I'm bullying them by not getting it on the agenda. I'm just trying to protect the city from getting into any more lawsuits. So with that said, Steve already talked about the marketing boot camp. I'm going to just redo it one more time on June 26th, talking about branding and social media and geostrategy from 8:30 to 12:30 here at the auditorium. And the CAPC is sponsoring that. So that's an exciting thing going on. We also have, I just lost it. Our building inspector has started a contractor's class. Anybody who's wanting to pass their contractor's license, he's going to hold some classes. It's a 6 weeks class that he's going to be putting on. July the 2nd, 9th, 16th, and there's some other dates from 5 to 7 at the Eureka Springs Library. It's a free instruction, but there is a $55 fee for the manual. And he will be the instructor, Paul Sutherland, our building inspector, who has over 30 years of experience in the construction business. So anybody out there who's wanting to become a licensed contractor, this is a great opportunity that the city's helping to sponsor to get people out there. So, and as far as that goes, I know Saturday we had some you know, wonderful music with the Kate Brothers in the Basin Park, but it is getting hot. And this is going to be a great time for us to help celebrate Eureka Springs' 146-year-old birthday celebration in Basin Park. July the 4th from 12 to 2. They'll have all sorts of games and birthday cake and also live music from the Arkansas Highlander Brass Band, which is a great band. So if you can take the heat, and there's a little bit of shade there, so come on out to the Basin Park. And that's going to be, you know, a great concert. And that's going to be from 2 to 4. So the Basin Park's birthday celebration will be 12 to 2, and then the concert's 2 to 4. And then after that, you can go on out to Lake Leatherwood and have the Jamboree Fireworks Extravaganza. And that will be from 5 to 9:30. Fireworks are going to go off. Probably if you get there at 9:30, you're probably too late. So you get there early. It's going to be at Lake Leatherwood City Ballpark Fields, and help celebrate not only our nation's, but Eureka Springs' anniversary and birthday at Lake Leatherwood. So a lot of live music, local food, beer, merchandise, water games, and of course the fireworks. And then on the 5th, July the 5th, Saturday from 6 to 8, we'll have the Drumming in the Park. And everybody's familiar with that, and if you're not, it's an event to come by and see. So with that, I'll take a motion to adjourn.
I move we adjourn.
Second.
All right. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, thank you all.